Have you ever noticed how the people we love don't always leave us suddenly, but rather they begin to fade away piece by piece? It's one of the hardest truths about aging. The body doesn't just stop one day, it whispers warnings long before its final goodbye. Sadly, most families miss these whispers. By the time they realize what was happening, it's already too late. But if you can learn to recognize these early signs, you can give your loved one something far more precious than extra time. You can give them comfort, dignity, and love in their final chapter. Disappearing. Wait. When the body quietly says, "I'm tired." One of the earliest and clearest signs that an elderly person may be approaching their final year of life is something many people dismiss at first: unintentional weight loss. On the surface it seems harmless. A pair of trousers fits looser. A dress hangs differently. The appetite doesn't feel as strong as before. Families often shrug it off as just aging. But the truth is much deeper. The body is like a finely tuned machine. For decades it has worked tirelessly, digesting food, building muscle, fueling energy, repairing tissues. But as a person nears life's final stretch, this machinery starts slowing down. The digestive system becomes less efficient. The ability to absorb nutrients weakens. Protein, the very building block of strength, isn't processed as well. And so, the body begins to shrink, not out of choice but out of necessity. This weight loss isn't simply cosmetic. It changes everything. When the muscles thin, balance is lost. The once steady walk becomes shaky. Even rising from a chair can feel like climbing a hill. A weaker body is also a vulnerable body. The immune system falters. A small infection that once passed in days now lingers for weeks. Falls become more dangerous, recovery becomes slower, and fatigue deepens. For some, the reason lies in underlying illnesses, chronic conditions like heart failure, kidney disease, or even undiagnosed cancers quietly pushing the body downward. But for many, it isn't just disease, it's the natural shutting down of life systems. The appetite fades not because food is unavailable, but because the body no longer signals hunger. The taste buds dull. Meals lose their joy. Eating feels more like a burden than a pleasure. Here's where families often struggle. They see their loved one eating less and worry, if only we can get them to eat more, they'll get better. They bring favorite dishes, they encourage, they plead. Sometimes they even resort to nutritional shakes or supplements. But despite the effort, the weight keeps slipping away. That's because it's not about willpower, it's about the body preparing for transition. This is where compassion must replace resistance. Forcing large meals often makes an elder feel worse, bloated, uncomfortable, even resentful. Instead, the focus should shift to comfort. Small, easy-to-digest meals. Foods that bring joy even if only in a few bites. Hydration that eases the body rather than overwhelms it. The goal is no longer to reverse what's happening but to make the journey gentler. And here is something every family must understand. Significant, unexplained weight loss in an elderly loved one is not just about appearance. It's the body's way of saying, "I'm tired." It's a quiet message that life's rhythm is slowing, and that time may be shorter than we imagine. But while this truth may be difficult to accept, it is also a gift. It gives you the chance to prepare, not with fear but with love. To stop wasting energy on denial and start focusing on what truly matters. Being present, creating memories, and offering peace in the moments that remain. Because when weight begins to disappear, it is not just the body that is shrinking. It is life itself whispering a gentle goodbye. And if you listen closely, you'll know that this is the time to hold your loved one a little tighter and cherish every day you still have. Deep fatigue, when rest no longer restores. There comes a point in the final stretch of life where sleep no longer serves as a recharge. It becomes a retreat. This is one of the clearest signs families notice but rarely understand. A deep, persistent fatigue that no amount of rest can erase. At first it seems harmless. An extra nap in the afternoon. A little more time spent lying in bed. But gradually, it becomes something far greater. The elder who once woke up early, enjoyed their tea, maybe even tended to the garden or went for a walk, now struggles to rise. Even simple tasks, brushing hair, changing clothes, walking to the kitchen, feel overwhelming. And this isn't laziness or lack of motivation. It's the body conserving its final reserves of energy. Why does this happen? As the body nears its closing chapter, its systems prioritize survival. Energy is rerouted toward keeping the heart beating and the lungs breathing, rather than fueling movement or conversation. Circulation slows. Muscles weaken from lack of oxygen. Even digestion demands too much effort, so the body often shuts down appetite to avoid spending energy it no longer has. It's as though the body is dimming its lights, conserving every last bit of power for the most essential functions. That's why the elderly in this stage often spend long stretches in bed or sitting quietly, their eyes closing without warning, drifting in and out of sleep. The emotional toll of fatigue. What makes this stage particularly heartbreaking is not just the physical decline but the emotional weight it carries. Many older adults spent their lives valuing independence, driving themselves, managing their home, cooking their meals. To suddenly find themselves unable to walk across the room without exhaustion can feel humiliating. Some respond with frustration, snapping at loved ones or withdrawing in silence. Others feel embarrassed and stop asking for help, preferring isolation over appearing weak. Families often misinterpret this as depression or disinterest. In truth, it's fatigue beyond comprehension. Imagine carrying a mountain on your shoulders every time you tried to move. That's how ordinary tasks feel in this stage. A common mistake families make. Loved ones, seeing this decline, often try to push back. Come on, let's take a short walk, it'll give you strength. Try to stay awake a little longer. If you exercise, you'll feel better. While well-intentioned, these efforts often backfire. Instead of feeling encouraged, the elder feels pressured, misunderstood, even guilty for not being able to meet expectations. What they need is not pressure but permission. Permission to rest without shame. Permission to sleep when their body demands it. Permission to conserve what little strength remains for the moments that truly matter, like sharing a story, holding a hand, or simply being present with those they love. Signs fatigue is more than just tiredness. You may notice your loved one sleeping most of the day but still waking up drained. Losing interest in conversations because speaking itself feels exhausting. Struggling to stay awake during meals. Suddenly falling asleep mid-sentence or mid-activity. Seeming fine one moment only to crash into overwhelming weakness the next. These aren't signs of laziness. They're signs the body is slowing down in preparation for its final journey. How families can respond with love. The most powerful thing you can do at this stage is to shift your expectations. Instead of measuring your loved one's worth by how active or engaged they are, measure it by the love you share in the quiet moments. Sit beside them. Hold their hand. Speak softly even if they don't always respond. Read to them, hum a tune, or simply share silence. Practical adjustments help too. Shorter activities, lighter meals, chairs in convenient spots, minimizing stairs or long walks. Sometimes, moving a favorite chair near a window can bring them more peace than any medical intervention. Above all, remind them they are not a burden. Fatigue often comes with guilt, the feeling of, I'm useless now. Your reassurance that their presence, not their productivity, is what matters most, can ease this hidden pain. The gift hidden in exhaustion. Though it may feel like loss, this stage carries a strange gift. Fatigue forces us all, both the one experiencing it and their family, to slow down. The rush of daily life fades. Priorities sharpen. Suddenly what matters isn't finishing chores or making plans. It's sharing a story. It's listening to laughter. It's feeling the warmth of a hand resting gently on yours. So, when you see your loved one battling relentless fatigue, don't view it only as decline. View it as life teaching you to pause, to treasure presence over productivity. Their body may be shutting down, but their heart still beats with love. And that love, shared in these quiet, weary moments, becomes the most powerful memory you'll carry long after they are gone. Because in the end, the measure of a life well lived isn't in how much energy someone had, but in how deeply they were loved when their strength finally ran out. The fading mind, when confusion and withdrawal appear. When the body begins to slow down, the mind often follows. For many families, this stage is the most painful. Not because it is always dramatic, but because it quietly steals away the person they once knew. A loved one who was once sharp, witty, and deeply engaged may suddenly seem different, forgetful, distant, or uninterested in the world around them. This isn't simply old age. It's a profound signal that life is preparing for its final transition. The first whispers of decline. At the start, the changes may appear subtle. Maybe they misplace objects more often. Maybe they ask the same question repeatedly without realizing it. Perhaps they struggle to follow a conversation that used to be effortless. Families often excuse it with phrases like, "That's just normal forgetfulness." But when these moments multiply, it becomes clear. Something deeper is happening. The brain, like the heart and lungs, depends on steady oxygen and nutrient flow to function. As circulation weakens in the final stages of life, the brain simply doesn't get enough fuel to operate at full capacity. The result is cognitive confusion, a drifting in and out of clarity almost like a fading radio signal. Confusion versus forgetfulness. It's important to distinguish normal age-related forgetfulness from end-of-life cognitive decline. Forgetfulness might look like misplacing keys or forgetting a name temporarily. End-of-life confusion, however, is different. It often includes losing track of time completely, not knowing if it's day or night, forgetting familiar places or even close family members, struggling to follow simple instructions, drifting into conversations that don't make sense, alternating between moments of lucidity and moments of deep confusion. For the family, these shifts can feel like an emotional roller coaster. One moment, the loved one seems back to normal, recalling old memories with clarity. The next, they may stare blankly, ask questions that don't align with reality, or retreat into silence. The emotional withdrawal. Alongside confusion often comes withdrawal. A parent who once delighted in family gatherings may now sit quietly, saying little. A grandparent who once told endless stories may now offer only short responses, or none at all. This can feel devastating, as though the person no longer cares. But the truth is more complex. Engaging with people, holding conversations, and managing emotions all require mental energy. As the mind weakens, these tasks become exhausting. Loud environments feel overwhelming. Socializing feels like climbing a mountain. Withdrawal, in this sense, is not rejection, it is self-preservation. Some elders even reach a state of unusual calmness, where they seem detached from the worries and concerns of the living world. Others become irritable, anxious, or restless, struggling to process their changing reality. Both reactions are natural. Both are signs of the mind adjusting to the body's decline. How families can respond with compassion. This stage can be deeply frustrating. Families want to bring their loved one back, to remind them of names, to correct their confusion, to keep conversations flowing. But here's the truth: correction rarely helps. Instead, it often leads to shame or agitation. Imagine being constantly told you're wrong when your brain truly can't keep up. It only deepens distress. Instead, the gift you can offer is acceptance. Meet your loved one where they are, not where you wish they could be. If they believe it's morning when it's night, gently redirect without harsh correction. If they talk about long-gone relatives as though they're still alive, don't argue, instead listen. Sometimes, allowing them to exist in the world their mind has created brings more peace than forcing them back into a reality their brain can no longer hold. Nonverbal connection becomes especially powerful at this stage. A gentle touch on the hand. A calm voice. Sitting together in silence. Even if words fade, presence remains deeply felt. The brain may falter, but the heart still recognizes love. Recognizing the deeper message. For families, confusion and withdrawal often feel like loss upon loss. The person is still here, yet no longer fully themselves. But seen differently, these changes carry an important message. The mind, like the body, is preparing for rest. Instead of resisting, this is a time to shift focus. Celebrate the moments of clarity as gifts, not expectations. Cherish the quiet presence rather than demanding conversation. Offer safety and familiarity, soft lighting, calm environments, soothing voices. These become anchors of peace in a mind drifting between two worlds. The gift of acceptance. Perhaps the greatest act of love during this stage is learning to let go of who your loved one used to be, and embracing who they are now. This doesn't mean forgetting their past self, but honoring the present moment, even if it looks different from what you hoped. Yes, it's heartbreaking to watch the mind fade. But within that fading lies a chance to love more purely, to love without conditions, without expectations of who they should be, but simply for who they are in this moment. And that kind of love leaves a lasting imprint on both the giver and the receiver. Because when the mind begins to withdraw, it is not the end of connection. It is simply an invitation to connect in quieter, deeper ways. Through touch, through presence, through patience, and sometimes, through silence that speaks louder than words ever could. The failing defenses, infections, breathing, and the body's final signals. As life nears its final season, the body begins to show unmistakable signs that its defenses are breaking down. These signals may be subtle at first: an infection that lingers longer than usual, a cough that never seems to go away, or a chill in the hands and feet that no blanket can warm. But together they form a clear message: the body is preparing for its final goodbye. The weakening immune system. One of the clearest physical shifts is the loss of the body's ability to heal and defend itself. A person who once recovered from a cold in days now takes weeks. A small cut that used to close overnight may remain open, slow to heal, vulnerable to infection. This isn't neglect, it's biology. As circulation weakens and organs slow, the immune system no longer has the energy to fight back. Germs that were once minor irritants now become serious threats. Urinary tract infections, chest infections, even gum or skin infections appear more frequently. And they don't always look the way families expect. Instead of a fever, the first symptom might be sudden confusion, exhaustion, or loss of appetite. Loved ones often struggle here, rushing to hospitals or insisting on stronger medications. But over time, even antibiotics seem less effective. Each illness leaves the body weaker than before. It is not failure, it is simply the natural rhythm of decline. Slow healing and fragile skin. Along with infections comes the issue of slow healing. You might notice bruises that last for weeks, sores that don't close, or fragile skin that tears easily. This happens because circulation is no longer strong enough to carry oxygen and nutrients to the outer layers of the body. The skin, once a protective shield, becomes thin and delicate. This fragility requires gentleness, soft bedding, careful repositioning, moisturizing, and constant vigilance to prevent wounds from turning into deeper problems. It is not about fixing the body anymore, but about protecting what remains with compassion and care. Breathing, the body's final rhythm. Perhaps the most profound and alarming sign of approaching death is the change in breathing patterns. Families often notice this before anything else. The breaths become shallower, slower, or irregular. Sometimes the rhythm alternates between fast, heavy breaths and long pauses, a pattern known as Cheyne-Stokes respiration. At first, these pauses may be seconds long. Over time, they can stretch further, leaving loved ones holding their breath in fear until the next inhale arrives. Breathing changes may also include mouth breathing instead of nose breathing, gurgling or rattling sounds caused by fluid in the lungs, shortness of breath during even the smallest movements, preference for sitting propped up as lying flat feels suffocating. For families, these sounds can be frightening. But it's important to remember, they are usually not signs of suffering. They are signs of the body gradually shutting down, conserving energy for the most essential functions. Circulation in the cooling body. Another unmistakable signal is the weakening of circulation. Blood, once pumped strongly to every corner of the body, now retreats to preserve the vital organs. The result is cold hands and feet, pale or bluish skin, and a mottled pattern on the legs or arms. Families may instinctively want to warm their loved one, but this is not about external temperature. It is about the body slowly redirecting its final resources inward. What families can do. At this stage, the temptation is often to fight harder, to seek stronger medicine, more hospital visits, another procedure that might buy more time. But here is the truth few want to face. There comes a point when the body is no longer asking to be fixed, it is asking to be comforted. What brings the most peace now is not aggressive intervention but gentle presence. Keeping the room cool and airy for easier breathing. Offering small sips of water to ease dryness. Speaking softly even if responses are minimal. Playing calming music, adjusting pillows for comfort, and simply being there. These acts may feel small, but they carry profound weight in the final days. The shift from curing to comforting. This is the moment when families are invited to shift their role, from fixers to companions, from worriers to witnesses. Instead of fighting against the inevitable, you learn to walk alongside it, hand in hand with the one you love. And though this is perhaps the most painful stage to accept, it is also the most sacred. For it is here, in the quiet between breaths and the slowing of a heartbeat, that the truest expressions of love emerge. No longer hidden behind words or distractions, love is felt in every touch, every whisper, every tear that falls. Final reflections. When infections return again and again, when the skin weakens, when breathing shifts into uneven patterns, when circulation cools the hands and feet, these are not random misfortunes. They are the body's way of saying, the journey is almost complete. As heartbreaking as it is, these signs give us something invaluable. Time. Time to say the words that were left unsaid. Time to sit in silence and simply be together. Time to let go of fear and embrace the truth that death is not an enemy but a natural closing of life's story. If you see these signs in a loved one, don't just see decline, see opportunity. The opportunity to love more deeply, to care more gently, to walk with them through their final chapter with dignity and grace. Because in the end, the greatest gift we can give someone who is leaving this world is not more days, but more peace in the days they have left. And when that final breath comes, you will know you gave them what truly mattered: comfort, compassion, and the assurance that they were never alone.